Welcome back. A developing story out of Capitol Hill today. Dr. Anthony Fauci. So he was the chief medical advisor to President Biden, for now former President Biden, and he led the White House's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, that entire thing has grown a lot of controversy because as new studies have revealed that maybe masks weren't the most effective way to get rid of the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Anthony Fauci testifying today in front of the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee this morning. And well, it became quite heated, to say the least. I want to play, we'll start you off from the beginning here. This is the opening statement. We do want to note that throughout the entirety of this hearing, Dr. Anthony Fauci refused to answer any questions, pleading the fifth to every question asked. Here's just a piece of his opening statement from today. We'll listen into just a few moments of this.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, you're recognized for 5 minutes for your opening statement.
Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Peters, members of the committee, I served at the NIH for over 54 years, 38 of those as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Over that period, I proved that I believe in and respect the value of legitimate congressional oversight. In fact, I testified before and/or briefed Senate and House committees well over 200 times over those 38 years. During and after the COVID pandemic, I have appeared multiple times for hearings in the Senate and the House, usually under oath, and sat for several days-long transcribed sworn interviews answering questions about the very issues that are now the subject of this hearing. However, given Senator Paul's obvious obsession with calling for my prosecution, his repeated slanderous comments about me, and recently his publicly releasing my unredacted personal diary aimed at embarrassing and intimidating me, the only conclusion I can reach is that the sole reason he is calling me before this committee is to get me to say something, anything, that could vindicate his repeated public pledges that I end up, in his words, quote, behind bars, unquote. Any reasonable person who has followed his unhinged obsession with me would readily come to the same conclusion. Therefore, although it pains me to do so, because of the respect I have for the legislative branch of government and my decades-long record of cooperating with Congress, under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions. Thank you.
Well, there you go. The opening statement from Dr. Fauci today. Again, things became quite heated over on Capitol Hill today during all of this. He says he would plead the fifth, pointing to a fact that he's testified between several other House and Senate committees before in days-long hearing, but noting that the president was, quote, obsessed with him is what he said. Here's a few moments as he, well, pled the fifth in front of this committee. Take a listen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, nothing says honesty like taking the fifth.
And just a note here, this is Senator Josh Hawley, who is your Republican who represents the state of Missouri.
Today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color is the carpet in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Let's just get one thing straight. You don't have any rights under the Fifth Amendment. because you've been pardoned, as you very well know. As the Supreme Court has been clear for a century and more, Brown versus Walker, 1896, when he has been pardoned, he may not stand upon his privilege. You know that. Your lawyers sitting behind you now shifting nervously in their chairs, they know it. This isn't about the Constitution. This isn't about the law. This is about contempt. Contempt for this body and contempt for the American people. But I think I know why you're doing it. It's because you don't want to answer questions. It's because you did all kinds of terrible things. It's because during the pandemic, you got rich, didn't you? You got rich while people were dying, hundreds of thousands of Americans, over 1 million in the end, and you were getting rich. And not only were you doing that, you were using federal employees with taxpayer money to apply for and solicit cash prizes for you personally, cash prizes totaling over $1 million. You did all of that during the pandemic, didn't you? That's a question.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
You remember Greg Folkers? Who was that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Your chief of staff is the answer. Do you remember Patricia Conrad? Who was that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
She was your personal assistant. And what were these individuals doing in the depth of the pandemic in November of 2020 when millions of Americans were suffering from COVID? What were they doing? I tell you what they're doing. Folkers was on your behalf soliciting and gathering information for a cash award. Let's look at it. We've got his email right here, right over my shoulder. Folkers says, I'm working on this nomination for the Dan David Award for Fauci. We need to beef up the COVID part. Do you have language in the can that you could share that delineates how we responded?
Well, there you go. So you get the point there. Pleading the fifth to quite literally every single question asked. Not even quite literally every single question asked. At one point, the hearing became, well, quite so intense that the lawyer of Anthony Fauci, Dr. Fauci, was kicked out of the hearing by the chair, Rand Paul. Take a look at this moment. It's really interesting. Essentially, the lawyer of Fauci was talking when he wasn't supposed to be. At least this is what the video appears to show. This is all uncut. It's about 2 minutes long. We're going to play it all for you. Leading to the point that he was kicked out. Take a listen.
You're not recognized. You're not recognized. If you are unruly, you will be removed from the proceeding. You are not recognized, and you are not recognized, sir. Sir, you are not recognized. You are not recognized. Security, we'll hold off, but you will respect these proceedings. You were told not to sit at the table. You insist on sitting at the table, and we told you you would not be recognized. You are not invited here for testimony, sir. You are being disruptive. Would you behave this way in a courtroom? No, because the judge would put you in jail. I can't do that today, but I can have you escorted from the premises. So I would say, sir, sit quietly and don't say another word. I said, sit quietly. You are not recognized. Another word and you're gone.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to hear what the attorney has to say.
He is not recognized by the committee or the chair. If he speaks again, he will be removed from the room. This testimony is from Anthony Fauci. This is not a game with his lawyers. He can advise. His lawyers can give him advice. He's got a half dozen here. They're all allowed to talk to him.
Yes.
All right? But the attorneys are not recognized. In fact, the attorney was told not to sit at the table, and he's not obeying that recommendation. There's a row behind you, sir. That's where you were told to sit, and you're not. And now you're disrupting the proceedings. And so, look, this is the way Anthony Fauci wants to be remembered, for a lawyer not listening to the rules. That's the way you want to be remembered, and that's what you're going to do. You are not recognized, sir. Security, please remove him from the room.
So you see the moments there, security, asked to remove the Fauci's lawyer out of the room. You heard Rand Paul, the chair of this committee, pointing to the fact that lawyers don't usually sit at the table with the
record
person that is
state that Dr.
testifying, and
Fauci
that
will
goes
still have
for
the advice
all
of-
hearings. That's not just this hearing today. It goes for all hearings. Usually they sit in a row behind them. And yes, as was pointed out there, they are able to advise him at any moment. So for sure, a story there out of Washington, D.C. this morning. It was a heated moment to watch for.